Next, I'd like to introduce you to Oli Bachie. Dr. Bachie is the County Director for the UC Cooperative Extension Office in Imperial County, and also a farm advisor, an agronomist. So, Oli, please go ahead, share your screen. Oh, there you are, you're shared. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Jan and others. I'm very happy to be here and be one of the speakers for today. What you may need to include in there is I'm not only an advisor for Imperial County, but also an agronomy advisor for Imperial, San Diego, and Riverside counties. So having said that, I would be speaking on summer cover cropping benefits to subsequent winter crops. I'm not sure, I just came in, what Ben and others might have spoken on cover cropping issues. If there is any repetition, please forgive me for that, or just consider it as a recap. All right, so I'm going to cover the concept of healthy soil, cover crops as contributors to healthy soil, benefits of cover cropping for subsequent crop. This is a result from my research on a 3-year experiment, and then finally would just summarize what cover crops are. All right. It does not proceed forward, Jen. Is there any? Okay, all right, here we go. So the concept of healthy soil, I think everybody knows that this is gaining a widespread attention because it promotes agricultural practices that are not only good for the farmer and rancher, but it is also good for the environment. And the term, soil health or healthy soil and the soil quality are actually interchangeably used. They both refer to how good the soil is in its role of supporting the growth of high-yielding, high-quality, and healthy crops. So cover crops for healthy soils and the other benefits, if you have looked at the CDFA, healthy soil incentive program, it considers cover cropping as a legitimate and qualifying healthy soil promoting practice. So what are cover crops? It is defined, some others may define it in other ways, but any ground cover, including grasses, legumes, and forbs, planted before or after or in mixture with main crops for indirect benefits can be called cover crops. For annuals, the annual main crops, the cover crops are usually planted during off-season and commonly killed before the next main crop. So those are actually used as surface mulch or incorporated into the soil for better organic matter, nutrition, and what other benefits they may provide. So here are some of the cover cropping benefits listed everywhere. You can find what they do. They attract beneficial insect pests, which also have indirect benefits. It decreases nutrient loss because it may keep onto the organic matter, increases infiltration of water, reduce erosion, suppresses nematodes. Yes, some cover crops have that capability, or even nematodal capability. They suppress weeds, and because they take the niche of the weed, and then can actually suppress weed seed bank. They add nitrogen, particularly if the cover crops are legumes. They enhance microbial numbers, and they add organic matter. So there are other considerations other than the benefit to the soil from cover cropping. They may reduce pesticide and associated effects, because we say they have benefit in reducing, suppressing, and so on weeds, nematodes, and other pests. So they reduce then, by doing that, ecological hazard, the carcinogenicity that may be brought about some pesticides, and then the pesticide resistances. They would overcome that situation that would have occurred if pesticides were solely used. So cover cropping can also overcome monocropping effects. What do monocropping effects are? There would be a loss of biodiversity if it is monocropping, and then if there is monocropping, a pest pressure would actually build up. So by breaking pest preferences and so on, then cover crops would actually play a good role. There is increasing societal demand for environmentally friendly crop production, hence the need for cover cropping practices. So if we look at organic matter from cover crops and the carbon cycle, this is biology 101. I'm sure everybody knows. All right. So what we know is, of course, carbon dioxide from the atmosphere would be taken up by the cover crop, and it is fixed into organic molecules. This is the role all plants would play, and this is known as photosynthesis. Okay. When plants and animals die, they go back to the soil as a source of organic matter. So soil organic matter, therefore, contains about 4 times as much carbon as in living plants, because it holds this carbon into the soil. All right, so you can see the cycle on the right side, photosynthesis, and then the animals actually eating, grazing the plants, and then those would go down into as organic matter, and then create carbon in organic matter. And then on the other hand, we can see the release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere through respiration from the stem and leaves, from root respirations, and then of course from the crop harvest or erosion. So that is actually the cyclic processes that you will see of carbon in soils, and that cover crops play a major role. All right, therefore we know that soil organic matter from cover crops and other organisms is the very foundation for healthy and productive soils. I assume those are actually covered by Ben as well. So how would cover crops be used? One, cover crops can be used as an intercropping with tree crops, you can see on the left side, or they can be used with as crop residues or mulch as an insert into vegetable crops. All right, in some areas they are special applications. They can be used as alley cropping, and which in this case be called agroforestry, and this is just simply the growing of cover crops between tree crops. All right, in some areas they use also as silvopasture. This is very common, particularly in mixed agriculture, tree and pasture combinations. And of course, with good grazing, the benefit that we see in here is it can reduce the use of herbicides. They can control, the animals can control the weeds. So well-managed grazing may also increase, organic matter and improve, soil conditions. And there are other ways. This is, the African push-pull technology. And this is, a situation where I'm sure some of you would know, Striga hermontica, or witchweed, a parasitic weed, devastates, the crops like, corn and sorghum. And they found out by growing, cover crops around the perimeter, they can actually control insect pests effectively and also use the cover crop as a livestock feed. So cover crops can actually provide multi-purposes. If you can see this, the surrounding around corn is a Napier grass or Penicetum, purpureum, that actually has, an attraction for natural enemies, but it repels some of, the moles or insects that could have, infested corn crops. So those are some of the benefits that you see in terms of, providing benefits as, a hay, and at the same time, insect pest, management. So with this, then I will just, go into the multi-purpose benefits to subsequent vegetable, crop production. This is, from the research finding. So our objective was actually to evaluate multi-purpose benefits of off-season or summer cover cropping for a winter broccoli crop. So we used 3 summer cropping treatments: marigold, Tagetes patula, because it was known to be or to have nematocidal values. And then cowpea, of course, a leguminous crop, provides improved organic matter and then provides, nutrition to the subsequent crop. And the cowpea that we used is also known to have a suppression on nematodes, particularly the root knot nematodes. And then we compared those 2 cover cropping treatments to a fallow belt, meaning no summer cropping, and it serves as a control. So this research was conducted, at the South Coast Research and Extension Center in Irvine. All right, so the approach were that cover crops were grown for 3 months during summer, and the fallow treatment was left unplanted. And this is what the cover crops looked at, like close to, termination. So this is, marigold. And then a close look at, the cowpea. You can actually see, the high biomass productivity, which is, a requirement or a quality of, cover cropping services. And at summer end, the cover crops were mowed, chopped, and the residue incorporated. So this is, how you see, in terms of chopping the cover crops. And then I just drove the rototiller to, incorporate residues. And then finally, the, broccoli was transplanted into the rototilled, alternate beds. So broccoli then is grown, on, the summer cover crops and the fallow plots. So the duration for this experiment was a 3-year repetitive in the same plot. The idea was to look at, the build-up effect of multiple year cover cropping on soils and subsequent cover crops. All right, so here is, the data on, weed population density. And this is, the effect on the top. You can see, the summer, cover cropping treatments: marigold, cowpea, CP, fallow, FW, and so on. And we looked at, some of
Oli?
Yes.
Excuse me, Oli, about 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Wow. All right. So you can see that, the the cover crops have got, benefits in terms of suppressing, weeds. The same thing, second year, third year, and so on. I never expected that it took me that long, but I have to rush, like a Ferrari now to complete, on time. All right. So some actually found effects on, nematodes, and this is what they saw. This is, two, cover crops that were added as a green manure, and you can see in the graph the control has got that much of a root gall as opposed to the cover crops. And then the effects on soil organic matter, you can see that, ACCP is, at the time of cover crop planting, ACCI is cover crop incorporation, and then ABH is broccoli harvest time. So you can see, the blueberry gold, the marigold, and the red, the cowpea, and then, the green is fallow. So you can actually look at the benefits that they have on organic matter build up, relative to the fallow, particularly, at the time of, the broccoli harvest, meaning, it is not really that significant during planting or just, at the time of cover crop incorporation. And then effects on nitrogen, and I rush into here, you can see the early stage is not really that much of a benefit, but as you go down, you can actually see that, the cover crop, particularly cowpea, you can actually look at, the comparison in here has got significant effect in increasing soil nitrogen concentration. And then the shoot nutrient concentration, this is of broccoli benefiting from the nitrogen that is available in the soil. You can actually see the benefit, particularly during the third year, indicating the build up or over a 3-year period has got a better effect in increasing crop nutrient concentrations. And then effects on broccoli shoot biomass, you can see the benefits of the cover crop compared to the fallow. The blue is, the effects from cover crop, from, cowpea, and you can see, enhanced, shoot biomass from planting after cowpea. And then effects on marketable yield, a similar situation, crops actually benefited and then, provided or gave, a higher marketable yield. And I would just go to, the final part in here, the total, harvest. This is the fresh, wet, marketable eggs. And you can see that cowpea provided, really substantial increase in marketable yield. All right, but there are shortcomings. Seed cost,
1 minute,
management cost sometimes may interfere with crops, and then enhancing insect pests would be the effect. Here is the summary. All right. So should I read that, Jen, or is that going to be good enough? All right.
I think
to
this
go
is
over
good.
quickly, summer cover cropping suppresses weed in subsequent vegetable crops. Cover cropping enhances soil organic matter, soil and subsequent crop, nutrient contents. Crop grows and marketable yield. Crop grows and the yield increased with increasing years of cover cropping, suggesting a build-up effect. And cover crops, could play a major role in, pest management if integrated with other pest management, techniques. And this is actually published and it would be available online. And that is all. Thank you so much.